Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday morning. Day one of the Seattle Seahawks mandatory minicamp is in the books. And let's talk about what we heard in terms of on the field action and what the players and coaches had to say. I'll be trying to do one of these videos every day for the next couple days because these are it's just a 3-day mini camp, but I think it's important to get an idea for what we're seeing from the team and what the team is telling us. So here are some notes from video footage taken at the mini camp yesterday, and some comments made by Carroll and some of the players as well. The first thing that I saw on the field, watching some of the video footage, looks like DJ Reed is working at right cornerback, which was Richard Sherman's old spot. So it's your basically number one cornerback, and Ahkello Witherspoon at left side cornerback. So early indication would be that our starting corners will be DJ Reed, Ahkello Witherspoon, with DJ Reed as the nominal number one. Now, I don't think he's going to travel, so you may see DJ Reed just worrying about his side and Ahkello Witherspoon worrying about his side. That's how we typically did it with Sherman. But that was one of the things that I noticed. Ryan Neal was working at safety in the because of the absence of Jamal Adams. He was running with the starters, so um, there was some debate over whether or not Ryan Neal was going to be a safety or a cornerback for us. So it looks like he's going to be a safety for us for the moment, but he has the versatility that is nice. So that's the main takeaway I got from watching video out there. I also continue to like what I see from Marquise Blair in terms of his rehab. It seems like he's ready to go, which is good because with the kind of injury that he had, it was feasible that he was going to be a player who maybe missed the first few weeks of the regular season, but based off what I'm seeing right now, there's no concern of that at all. So those are the key takeaways, I think. There was actually one big disappointment with regards to what we didn't get to see today, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. We did get to see Wilson working with Metcalf and Lockett a little bit. We got to see um, some hints that Benson Mayowa might get a try at linebacker, but that's really about it in terms of the on the field stuff. Um, Obviously, we all know that Jamal Adams was not there. The only two players besides Jamal Adams who were not there were Chris Carson, who is not there because there has been a birth in his family, I believe. There has been the birth of a child, and he wanted to be there for it. So Chris Carson has an excused absence, and the other player is Aldon Smith. And we'll talk about Aldon Smith at the end of this video, but Carroll said something that I actually found to be pretty interesting. So three players are not there: Carson, Aldon Smith, Jamal Adams. That's it. Everyone else is there. Dwayne Brown was there, but he's in street clothes. They asked him if he's sitting out because he wants a new contract, and Carroll insisted no, he's sitting out because he's old. Also sitting out was Rashaad Penny, Travis Homer, and Dwayne Eskridge. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, Rashaad Penny, according to Carroll, is working out and doing a ton of stuff, but he's not quite ready after a cleanup procedure following up on his knee reconstruction. He should be ready for camp. Uh, you know, I've said it for a while now. The Penny pick was a bad pick. The Rashaad Penny pick was obviously a disastrously bad pick, but I keep thinking to myself, at some point he's going to do something for us, right? He's going to do something to at least give us a little bit of value on that first rounder we blew, right? And I can't help it. I'm losing my patience. At this point, it would not shock me at all if Rashaad Penny was not healthy in time for week one and he just got cut. I'm Oh man, I mean, this is really getting annoying. The fact that he cannot stay on the field. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when we drafted him, one of the reasons why we drafted him was because we felt he was durable. This is that was very discouraging to hear. Really hoping that by the time training camp itself rolls around, we see Penny on the field doing stuff because I've had it up to here with this dude, and I've gone on record kind of defending him once or twice and saying that I think he could have a good year this year, but um Yeah, not what I wanted to hear. Uh, Dwayne Eskridge has a toe injury, so he sat out. I saw him catching a couple of passes at half speed from Wilson, but nothing really real. So he's sitting out this mini camp to take care of his toe, which is a little alarming, but I'm not gonna freak out about it yet. And Travis Homer has a bit of a calf strain he's dealing with. Blair, Carroll commented on Blair and said he's not 100% yet, but he's very close. And he said everybody should be fine for camp. So if anybody is not fine for camp, I'm going to be a little worried. I can't help it. I'm sorry, I can't help it, especially with Rashaad Penny because we know his history. Quandre Diggs had a couple of interesting quotes. Talking about how this is his seventh season and how happy he is to have made it this far despite not being drafted until the late sixth round 7 years ago. They asked him about Jamal Adams, and he said he has no concern about Jamal Adams showing up eventually. He has no concern about Jamal Adams not putting in the work. He doesn't think Jamal Adams is a selfish player at all. And I pretty much agree with all that. Carroll talked about Adams as well, said that, they've been talking about a new contract. We love him. We think he's a great football player. We're treating him with respect. He's treating us with respect. We expect him for the actual training camp. So if the training camp I don't know exactly when it starts off the top of my head, but when training camp starts, if Adams is not there, that has to add at least a little tick of intrigue to the proceedings, right? He also said that even if Jamal Adams was there, he probably wouldn't be doing anything beyond walkthroughs because he had multiple surgeries after last season. The shoulder he played through, he had a hamstring issue through part of the season. So there's not really a whole lot that he's missing out on anyway. And Carroll also said expect a new deal to be done before 2021. Expect the extension to happen between now and the start of the season, which I hope is true. I hope he's right on that one. So he said the same thing about Dwayne Brown as well. We are counting on him being with us this fall, which I think pretty strongly indicates that we are going to extend him. And honestly, if there's a guy to extend, it's Dwayne Brown. I've said it before. I know it's hairy extending a 36-year-old dude who already has a bad knee, but he's one of the best in the world still. And if the knee isn't preventing him from being a good player, then we can pay him. And if we end up regretting it later, then we end up regretting it later. But the upside of having that franchise level left tackle is just a little too high. So granted, I don't know what else Carroll would possibly say in a situation like this, but he was very optimistic that Adams will be here, Dwayne Brown will be ready to go. They're both going to get their contracts. He seems to be pretty on board with it, and I am too. You guys know how I am with money. You guys know how careful I want this team to be with their contracts, their extensions, their free agent signings, all that stuff. I'm counting every penny, but those guys, I think you do it. I think you make it happen. Other than that, Carroll, I don't want to excite anybody too much for a guy who may not even play but a couple games this year. Carroll really likes what he sees from Robert Kimdichie. And I gotta tell you, if he can figure it out, that's a guy who can make a big impact on this season. According to Carroll, Kimdichie is applying himself and looks explosive despite being over 300 pounds. Different kind of player than they have on roster. He is taking advantage of second chance in football life, and Carroll says they believe he is going to be a factor in the trenches. Um, Again, I don't want to fall for Carroll selling us on somebody who probably won't even be on the 53 man to start the season, but former first round pick, dude clearly has talent. We wanted him badly in 2016, didn't happen. And now he's here, and I'm thinking about it. And if he can figure it out, he could be something. He could really be something. The only issue I see is that the three tech's a little bit crowded. Three tech's a little crowded. We got Rasheem Green, who needs snaps at three tech, LJ Collier, and Puna Ford. Maybe even Brian Monet. I don't know. He might be a full time one tech. He might not be. But Robert Kimdichie is one of the guys to watch for, I think, just because the talent is there. Carroll also talked about Gerald Everett bringing in some factors that we haven't had before. Really aggressive runner with the football, really active, willing blocker in our scheme, can line up backfield slot, inside, outside, wide receiver ability, which is something that I actually spoke about at length when I was talking about Colby Parkinson a couple years ago, or actually about a year ago now. Gerald Everett was one of the league leaders in lining up on the outside a couple years ago for tight ends. And if we can get him to do that again effectively in 2021, that takes some of the pressure off the receivers and it also gives us some real creativity. Carroll also says that Colby Parkinson will be a factor in this offense. Speaking of Colby Parkinson, which I don't know how much room there's going to be for him unless we run a lot of two tight end, but I'm willing to give Colby a chance to at least be a part-time contributor in this offense because there are some things that he is capable of doing very well. There was also a lot to do with Will Dissly, which, hey, I made a video about Will Dissly and his potential impact on the 2021 Seahawks this year. And he said that for the first time in a long time, he was able to jump rope on one leg. And he's fully healthy for the first time in his NFL career in an off season. So maybe my video the other day will end up carrying some weight or, being accurate, and we'll see a different Will Dissly. Maybe he can get back to being what he was in 2019 for a few games. He's learning to run again with a new Achilles and a new knee, so you can see how you might be slowly working yourself in for a year while trying to make it work with brand new body parts like that. He also had some nice words to say about Shane Waldron's offense, says it fits really well, systematic, up-tempo. He really likes being part of the newness. A lot of unique packages to some of the up-tempo stuff that the Seahawks are doing that he thinks will create some mismatches. Um, the up-tempo offense will force defenses to stay in base against Seattle's 12 personnel and put defenses on their heels. So it sounds like there's going to be a good amount of two tight end stuff, which, hey, that sign me up. I'm interested. Okay, I'm willing to listen to that. I used to love running a two tight end in Madden. So if we want to run two tight end, sign me up. Now, one last thing. Um, Aldon Smith. I really don't think Aldon Smith's going to play football for us. However, when Carroll was asked about Aldon Smith, he didn't. Well, okay, this wasn't a quote from Carroll necessarily. This was a quote from a beat reporter talking about what Carroll had to say about Aldon Smith. Carroll did not say why Aldon Smith is not at minicamp, but apparently Aldon Smith is in Seattle and working back into shape. So on some level, he must think it is at least possible that he will be playing football come September. So I don't know how he can work his way out of this one. I don't know how he's going to be able to explain this. I don't know how he's going to be able to justify his ability to play football in 2021. But if he can, that I really do think I really want to emphasize this. I think that takes the ceiling off of this defense and possibly this team with it. So, look, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. I want to be very clear about that. Aldon Smith did some very stupid stuff and will probably not play football for us this year. But the fact that it is currently on the table and that he isn't just giving up, that he's actually working himself back into shape on his own is at least promising. That's really all I have in terms of on the field stuff. I'm disappointed that Eskridge can't do anything because of his toe, because he was one of the guys I think was the most important to watch. Interesting to see the cornerback battle play out. Definitely interested to see who ends up coming out on top by the end of camp. And I think that's about it. I'll be back tomorrow with another video like this with day 2 updates. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you guys are hearing. And yeah, peace out. Go Hawks.